This is the story of three friends who venture into the forest in search of a hidden treasure. It's said that no one who has gone looking for this treasure has ever returned. The friends eventually find the treasure, but will they be able to return with it, or will they meet their demise? Let's find out in this video. But before we begin, YouTube viewers, please subscribe to our channel, and Facebook viewers, make sure to follow our page so you never miss a new video. At the beginning of the movie, we see three friends sitting in a car. Their names are Keaton, Wayne, and Robin. After a while, one of them, Wayne, falls asleep. Meanwhile, the other two friends, Robin and Keaton, put on masks and break into a house. They are actually there to kidnap a boy named Gordy. When they enter the house, they see that Gordy is sleeping. Just as they are about to kidnap him, Gordy wakes up and attacks them. Keaton then makes him inhale a sedative, causing him to pass out. After that, they put him in the trunk of their car and drive him far away. The next morning, when they open the trunk, it turns out that they are all college friends, and they were just playing a prank on Gordy. They had all gathered to celebrate Gordy's bachelor party. They decide to visit all their favorite bars in their hometown of Kentucky. They go to a bar called Arcadia, which they had never been able to find after college. When they enter the bar, they are surprised to find that it has been turned into a restaurant, and some elderly women are drinking there. They are all very disappointed. Keaton apologizes to everyone because it was his idea to come here, and he hadn't checked the place beforehand. After that, they take some pictures with their old camera. The friends then start drinking together, but Gordy leaves the restaurant and walks down the street, reminiscing about the old days. Gordy then goes to an old antique shop where he used to visit frequently during his college days. In the shop, Gordy sees a girl who turns out to be Carolyn, the same girl he had a crush on as a child. Initially, Gordy doesn't recognize her because she has grown up significantly. Carolyn then reminds Gordy of the old days, helping him realize who she is. She brings out a box of items that belong to Gordy, which he had stored there for the past 10 years. They start chatting and reminiscing. During their conversation, Carolyn tells Gordy about a hidden treasure that belonged to the Bullitt family. She explains that years ago, when the government was shutting down all the bars, the Bullitt family, fearing a raid, hid all their wealth in the nearby woods. Gordy is skeptical and thinks it's just a rumor. However, Carolyn insists that many people have gone in search of this treasure, but none have returned alive. Gordy becomes intrigued by the treasure. He discusses the treasure with his friends, but they don't believe him. Gordy insists that there's always some truth behind every story. Eventually, he convinces them, and they prepare to search for the treasure. Just then, Gordy notices three men laughing at Robin. Annoyed, Gordy tries to ignore them, but during their meal, one of the men approaches their table and starts hitting on Robin. Gordy tells him to back off, but the man refuses. Enraged, Gordy kicks him onto a chair and holds a knife to his neck, threatening to kill him if he doesn't leave. After this confrontation, they all leave the restaurant. Robin angrily confronts Gordy, asking why he acted so violently. After the situation calms down, the three friends head into the forest to search for the treasure. Once they reach the forest, they start digging, but despite their efforts, they find nothing by nightfall. They build a fire and start drinking. Gordy begins to look at Robin inappropriately and tries to get closer to her. Robin, angered by his behavior, walks away. Keaton steps in to calm her down and defuse the situation. For several days, they continue their excavation in the forest. One day, while they are singing, an elderly couple, Mr. Hykins and Mrs. Hykins, approach them and invite them to their home for a meal. At the dinner, Gordy notices a rifle hanging on the wall and becomes fascinated by it. He picks it up to examine it. Mr. Hykins, observing how Gordy handles the rifle, deduces that Gordy must have served in the military. Gordy reveals that he was sent to the Vietnam War but never got the chance to fire a shot because their camp was attacked, and he was sent back home due to his injuries. Mr. Hykins shares that he also served in the military. Meanwhile, Keaton goes to the restroom and notices a cloth on the wall with the name Bullitt written on it. He sneaks into their room to search for clues about the treasure and finds a pistol in a drawer, which he quietly takes. During their conversation, Mr. Hykins accidentally touches Keaton, causing the pistol to fall out. Realizing their intentions, Mr. Hykins and his wife become suspicious of the group's true motives. Mr. Hykins points his pistol at Keaton and asks if they have come to steal his family's treasure. At that moment, Gordy picks up the rifle and demands to know Mr. Hykins' real name. Initially, Mr. Hykins insists it is Hykins, but Gordy presses him again. Eventually, he reveals his name is William Henry Bullitt. Upon hearing this, Gordy shoots and kills him. He then grabs Mrs. Bullitt and locks her in another room. Keaton, covered in blood, is terrified by what he has witnessed. Robin yells at Gordy, demanding to know why he did such a thing, but Gordy silences her. The four friends then discuss what to do with Mrs. Bullitt. They fear that if they let her go, she will inform the police about everything. Gordy suggests that they should kill her too. Gordy is about to kill Mrs. Bullitt when Robin intervenes, saying she will do it herself. Gordy hands her the gun and walks out. Shortly after, a gunshot is heard, and Robin comes out, leaving the impression that she has carried out the deed. The other friends start cleaning up the room to remove any evidence. They also go back to the forest to erase any traces there. Wayne tells Gordy that everything that happened was wrong, and that he will regret it for the rest of his life. He adds that it was Gordy's fault and that they all just followed him. Gordy replies that he had no other choice. Disturbed by Wayne's words, Gordy returns to Mr. Bullitt's house and starts drinking. When Gordy doesn't return for a long time, Robin and Keaton go looking for him. They find him eventually, and Gordy apologizes to Robin for touching her inappropriately that night. He confesses that he has loved her since their college days and tries to get close to her again, but Robin pushes him away and leaves. Meanwhile, Keaton is seen at the excavation site, digging up the treasure. It turns out that Keaton had found the treasure much earlier but had kept it a secret from his friends. Keaton starts filling a bag with money from the box and then heads to the car with Robin. However, by the time they reach the car, Gordy is already there. Gordy, suspecting Keaton, points his pistol at him and demands that he open the bag. When Keaton opens it, the bag is indeed filled with money. Robin steps forward and distracts Gordy, then sprays something into his eyes, temporarily blinding him. Blinded, Gordy fires his gun wildly, and one of the bullets hits Keaton in the leg, injuring him. Keaton manages to escape, but Gordy, leaving his pistol on the car, chases after him. Robin picks up the pistol and follows Gordy, intending to shoot him. Just as Robin is about to shoot Gordy, Keaton grabs her leg and pulls her down. With blood pouring from his leg, Keaton hands the pistol to Robin and urges her to go get help, promising her that he will distribute the money to the poor. Robin leaves to get help, but Gordy reaches Keaton, seizing the pistol and the money bag. Gordy walks away, and Keaton, losing too much blood, dies. On his way, Wayne confronts Gordy, telling him that what he is doing is wrong and that he should not betray his friends. Gordy ignores Wayne, which angers Wayne, causing him to leave. Gordy starts crying and desperately calls out for Wayne. The scene then shifts to 10 years earlier, showing Gordy, Robin, and Keaton partying at a bar. After drinking heavily, Robin and Keaton fall asleep, but Gordy struggles to drive the car. He accidentally falls asleep at the wheel and hits a man. When Gordy steps out of the car, he realizes that the man is Wayne, who is taking his last breaths and soon dies. Gordy, panicking and desperate to avoid the police, decides to bury Wayne in the nearby forest. Robin and Keaton witness this but promise never to speak of it. Since that day, Gordy has been haunted by the vision of Wayne, who wasn't really with them but existed only in Gordy's mind. Meanwhile, Robin is running for help but slips and gets caught in thorny bushes. Gordy arrives and is about to shoot her, but he realizes the pistol is empty. Keaton had removed the bullets. At that moment, someone shoots Gordy from behind. It turns out that the shooter is none other than Mrs. Bullitt. Robin had spared her life instead of killing her. Grateful for Robin's mercy, Mrs. Bullitt decided to help her. Robin frees herself from the thorny bushes, takes the bag of money, and leaves the scene. The movie ends as she walks away.